This is the Wealth Junkie Show, brought to you by CEO Capital Partners.
This is the Daily Wealth Junkie Show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. My name is Brandon Dukeman here with Will Harvey. Be sure to join us on Facebook at the facebook.com/groups/wealth junkies and subscribe to our show. Leave us a comment, rate our show, let us know how we're doing wherever you're listening to. Without further ado, we're going to pass this over to Will and introduce our guest for the day.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brandon. So today we have an awesome episode. We're talking to Chris Collins, and I am not going to get much into his bio. I'm going to let him do that because it's very interesting and there's a lot to talk about. But basically, he started shooting skate videos when he was young. That he transitioned into working in Hollywood and then got into real estate. So with that high level description, Chris, why don't you give the listeners a little bit more about your story, how you got started, and what got you to where you are today.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on.
For sure.
Man, some incredible guests on this show. It's an honor to be on here. I appreciate it. So like you said, I started out as a kid skateboarding in Orange County, and skateboarding meant I needed to make a lot of skate videos, right? I was sponsored, had people that needed video footage of me, and that would get me free skateboards and stuff. So I took a video, crash course and learned how to make those. And then eventually I went to college. I went to school at UCSD in San Diego, went to get a film and video degree. And I quickly realized that a lot of the video content and materials we were making in classes was very academic and, to me, quite frankly, not very useful, not very functional. So I decided I was going to take every video and make it into a professional video of some kind. So if we had an assignment that was make a documentary, I would take that and make a MTV style, MTV Cribs or MTV Diary or something that was more professional looking. So I started building a reel of sorts of professional quote unquote videos, even though I was just going to school. I figured that would serve me in the long run at some point. I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. All I knew is that made more sense to me.
Did you go to college for the video education because you liked doing the videos and you wanted to eventually pursue the video career, or?
I went to school with kind of an open-ended, I'm going to do something in digital arts.
Okay.
I was definitely a creative person. I liked art. I liked skateboarding. Didn't have a lot to do with art, but I went to basically get some kind of digital, I forget what the original degree I started with, some kind of digital art degree. And I ended up doing a lot of art and a lot of video. So I turned it into a film and video degree, really just because that was what I was into. I liked the creative side of life. I liked doing stuff with my hands, drawing, sculpting. I liked the video to me was the most practical art, though. It was the most visually, it's just as simply, it's a moving art, right?
Yeah.
If you draw a picture and put it on the wall, it's like, okay, there, it's sitting there. But I loved the video aspect of things. So I didn't really have a long-term, I'm going to go and be a filmmaker or go work in TV. I just started doing what I loved.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah. So from there, I was in school and I realized that all we're learning here is just school stuff. And I have all these skills that I should be able to use, right? So I started looking for an internship, and my school didn't really provide internships, didn't push internships, but I'd kind of heard of them. So I basically found the only commercial production house in San Diego I could find, and I went and knocked on their door, and I just literally just walked in on a Tuesday and said, hey, my name's Chris. I'm a student over here. I know film and video. I would love to work for you for free. Do you need an intern? And the response was something like, what? No, we don't need anything. Like, I know, I understand it sounds weird. I'm just talking about coming and working for you for free. And
no strings attached. No, nothing.
No, nothing, like literally nothing, which sounds super weird, right? Like some kid literally just off the street on a Tuesday. I didn't schedule anything. I just walked in. So they said no. And I said, all right, thanks. And so I left. And 2 weeks later, I went back. Hey, I know I talked to you a couple weeks ago. Just want to know if you'd reconsidered. I just wanted to kind of re-describe what I'm talking about working for you for free, right? And they said, no, not really. I was like, seriously? Okay, well, and so I left. But lo and behold, the next weekend, they called, hey, okay, look, if you're really serious, we got to shoot tomorrow morning. Do you want to be there? I said, I'll be there. Freaking got in a car next morning, showed up. We went and shot a commercial for like Jerome's Furniture or something in San Diego, right? The most.
How old were you?
I was 18 or 19 at the time.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Staying persistent at that age.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a lesson right there on just being persistent and not taking no for an answer.
Well, especially when you know you have a lot to offer. That's something that I think I've always been pretty good at, is if I know that I have something to offer, I can walk in confidently. You know, if I know I don't have a lot to offer, then walk in with humility and ask for advice. And people are pretty good about giving advice.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're adding value for you. You know, you're not asking anything from them. You're saying, hey, here's what I can provide to you for free. I'm not asking you to pay me. I'm not asking you for really anything, just the opportunity. So I think that's pretty great.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Eventually they
figure it out. Yeah. But eventually they did. I started working there for free for a few months, probably 4 or 5 months. And then eventually they started paying me. I wasn't asking for it. They just, hey, look, you're here every week. You're here every weekend. Why don't we pay you? Why don't we give you more of a role? So I started out really low, just kind of doing literally anything, more the grunt work. But hey, I was in college working at a professional commercial house, shooting commercials for the Padres in San Diego, stuff like that, right? I was doing professional stuff.
That's cool.
So I realized the value of internships.
Yeah.
So my second or third year of college, I got an internship up in Los Angeles, working for a company that makes The Real World for MTV, and we get a bunch of other shows. That's kind of one of their bigger ones that you might know. And a funny story about that. So I was supposed to be in LA 3 days a week for this internship. I was going to school in San Diego. I didn't know anyone in LA. So what I started doing is reaching out to anyone I knew. Hey, I'm going to be in LA for 3 days a week. I need somewhere to sleep, right? So I literally would go up to LA. I would show up on like let's say a Wednesday night. I would go to somebody's house that a friend had recommended me to that I didn't know, knock on the door. Hey, it's Chris, your buddy recommended. Oh yeah, come on. We got a couch for you over here.
Okay.
I slept on random people's couches for an entire summer. Of 80% of the people, I had no idea who they were. I would just show up and their friend would recommend me. But for me, it was a way that I was in San Diego getting a professional experience in Hollywood, quote unquote. And none of my friends were doing that. No one else had. Everyone else was just going to school and kind of doing the normal route.
The boring stuff.
It was the boring, but it was also like, I didn't see what's their next step. You know, they're going to graduate from college and okay, now I'm ready for what? You have no experience. You have no connections. You have nothing. And, you know, for me, I had a whole, mini career in making commercials. And I also had all these contacts in Hollywood. I'd already been working there for free, so they knew my work ethic. So that's when I graduated school, I eventually had a job lined up for me in Hollywood, and other friends I were talking to, and they're, I'm going to go ahead and work. I was like, what does that mean to you? What are you going to do with it? I've had multiple internships. I have all these connections in Hollywood. What are you guys doing? Oh, I don't know. I'll figure it out. All right. Good luck to you guys. Right.
My degree is going to get me whatever I want.
Right.
Yeah. And to me, that was not the case. I wasn't going to rely on that. So I just took everything into my own hands and made it happen. But it was a lot of, driving 2-3 hours to get to LA from San Diego, sleeping on random people's couches, working for free all summer. It's not the most glamorous life, but it is. It's just grinding. And, then what happened is I moved up to LA, became one of the youngest editors in Hollywood.
And how old were you at that time?
I think I became an editor at 22 or 23.
Wow.
Yeah. Most editors are, in their mid 30s and mid 40s. So
how was that, working with those guys? How did they take you seriously, or did they take you seriously, being that young?
It's a good question. I think I came in like I came in hot, right? I just came in, I had a lot of energy. I had a lot of excitement. I could do the technical skills of editing. I could make stuff look cool. So I started working for MTV pretty early on. And MTV back then was very flashy and a lot of cool moves and stuff. I was pretty, cool, quote unquote, cool hair, piercings. I kind of fit in with the style. And as long as I could kind of hold my own, and I had a lot of instances of not knowing what the heck I was doing, but just kind of faking through it, right? can you do this? Yeah, absolutely. I got that, guys. No problem. And I'd, freak out inside and kind of
later.
That's funny.
go try to subliminally ask someone else the question without really asking it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. So a little bit of fake it till you make it, maybe a lot of fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But I had the chops to get through it. And I think the first few jobs, I was really blessed to fall into a couple of groups of people that wasn't a big deal. They were like, sure, let's go. Cool. High energy, younger guy. Let's go. I never really had I didn't get a lot of flack for it. And I had a couple of harder, bigger learning experiences along the way of how, what real full-time editors are doing. And I paid close attention and tried to learn there. But for the most part, I had the experience, right? I've been working in commercials. I've been working in LA doing internships. So it was just a matter of making it work. So.
Yeah. Awesome. So going back, were you, when you were doing the skateboard videos, was that around the time that Big Brother was out?
Big Brother was out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And right a little bit after that, Jackass started.
Yeah.
And, that kind of made that whole thing famous with the, film.
It did. Yeah. And skateboarding, back then was very much you didn't make a lot of money in it. Nowadays, there's some serious money to be made in skateboarding. Back then it was a little more of a grind. And I was just at that level where I had this big kind of decision with my parents. I was like, do I go to school or do I take a couple years off and try to be a professional skateboarder? And they were very supportive and said, really, whatever you want to do. And
that's cool.
I decided to go to school, but I went to school in San Diego, switched some of my sponsors to San Diego to a shop down there that was pretty famous, and tried to keep skateboarding in San Diego and go to school. And the reality is it's too hard to do both. I couldn't be at such a high level skateboarding. Yeah, it was too much. So also I fell out of skateboarding. I still skate a bit here and there with my son, but
yeah,
it's kind of that career was over.
So what would have made you, what makes a professional skateboarder, or at least back in the day, what would have made a professional skateboarder a professional?
Professional just means you're getting paid for it, right?
Okay.
I never got paid for it. I just got everything for free. So I would have skateboards and clothes sent to me for free, and
just basically getting paid.
Yep, getting paid meant you're professional.
And
you're amateur.
Those free items were all because of your videos that you produced?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it was because I was out there doing a high level of skateboarding, but the sponsors had to see it somehow. So either they would see me skating on the street, or I'd send them a video, and they would see that, and that would kind of convince them, oh, this guy's doing big things. Great, we should put him on the team. And that's
awesome.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So now we're back. You're 23, 22, 23 years old. You're an editor. You're doing things for MTV. What happens from there for you?
Well, I'm going to back you up one more, because I know you're talking about hustle and grind and how do people get on. So one thing that I kind of left out that I feel like is important is when I moved to LA, I didn't become an editor right away. I became an assistant, right? But most people get an assistant role and they just kind of sit in that role and they let whatever happens happen, and they help out their assistants. For me, literally day one as an assistant, I walked around to all the editors and I said, hey, I'm going to be here tonight after. If you need anything edited, I will stay after and edit for free for you. And in the morning when you come in, something will be edited. If you like it, use it. If you don't, trash it. It's experience for me. So I spent every day 3 hours after work editing for those 6 months as an assistant.
Wow.
And what that did for me is it gave me now I'm editing on real shows. It wasn't going to go to air, but I was working with the actual material. I was working with the actual music that they're using, the actual content. And every once in a while they would use something for their show. Sometimes I would cut a really short piece that would go at the end or beginning of a show. And then eventually what had happened is I had worked so much on one of these episodes and I had cut so much of the show after hours for free on my own that it went to air. It got a write-up in a magazine, and it was basically like, well, you cut basically a half an episode. We should give you an editor credit here. And that was kind of my off to the races moment, right? It was kind of a solid they did for me for, hey, you put in a lot of work. We'll give you the credit. But a lot of it's like just hustling.
Yeah.
A lot of free work. That's what, when I look back, there's been a lot of free work in my life, but
that builds your experience. I mean, it goes back to the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hour rule. Those 6 months that you spent editing for free, that was invaluable, I'm sure. And it's
huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's what got you the editor role. You really honed in on your craft, and that's cool that you were able to see the value in doing that. Because most people, I know I am a millennial, but I always rag on millennials and just say that they're lazy as a whole, and they don't want to, they want the dream job where they have to work 20 hours a week and get paid $100,000 salary. And and you were
cash to work, and paid sick time or unlimited sick time, all those things.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't come from that school.
That's great. Well, most successful people.
So Brandon, I'm gonna go back to your question. I forget. I'm trying to remember what your question was exactly.
Yeah. So, you're 22, you've earned the spot of, editor, and you've kind of proven to everybody that you got what it takes. Where does your career go from there?
So basically I continued editing, right? I continued honing in that craft. I continued to work hard, and television is freelance, right? So in my world of television, it's freelance. So I would do one show for 2 months, then I would work on another show for 3 months, and I work on another show for 6 months, another show for 1 month. And I've been, maybe because of my hustle, maybe because of some blessings from God, whatever, I've been very consistent and worked a lot. I've been working pretty much nonstop in my career. A couple of downtimes that I chose, but for the most part, I kept working. And so I had a couple of really great kind of mentors along the way that I worked for, that I got to level up my editing skills from kind of a new editor to a medium editor to now a very experienced and sought after editor, fortunately. And editing pays pretty well. I have a pretty comfortable, solid life. And I realized that, you know what, editing is freelance, and there's no long-term here. There's no end, right? If I work this week, I get paid. If I work next week, I get paid. If I don't work next week, I have nothing.
Right.
There's no retirement benefits. There's no health care. There's no pensions. So I realized that if I'm going to have any kind of long-term play here, I got to figure something out. I got to figure out how to make my money work harder for me than I do for it, right? So I first did a bunch of stock investing. I had some like a managed portfolio with Fidelity, and just started putting all my money from editing into the stock market. But about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I decided, look, I'm going to get into investment real estate. And I realized that what I want is not a pile of money. I want to create streams of money. I want streams of income, because editing is one stream of income. And when I stop editing, that stream stops. I got to figure out how to make long-term streams that keep coming in. That way there's some kind of stability for me in the future.
Right.
We are pregnant with our son. And I was like, yeah, if now we got to have a family, now we got to get serious here. So I started learning about investment real estate. I started by buying a couple of single family homes.
All local to where you are?
Oh, no, sorry. Everything was out of state. So I live in LA, which is one of the most expensive places in the planet. And I started buying out of state because I wanted cash flow. I wanted streams of income. I felt like the LA real estate market was more of a gambling type of market, right? You can buy
speculation.
Yeah, exactly. It'll go up in value, and you can sell it hopefully for a profit. Well, in the meantime, it's probably cash flow negative. I didn't like that. I liked the idea of, for my first few investments, something stable that was just going to pay me checks every month.
Yeah.
So I bought a couple of houses in Memphis, Tennessee, and have professional property management manage those.
How'd you find those deals?
Networking and finding essentially a turnkey provider out there that basically built these couple of houses brand new construction. So I flew out there, checked out these lots, brand new construction, built up these houses, had them rented shortly after. And that was I took my first step, right? I bought a couple of houses. In my head, I was going to buy a bunch of single family houses, rent them all out.
Okay.
But I realized along the way that was going to be very slow, saving up enough for another down payment, renting that one house, saving up for another down payment, buying that house, renting out that one house. It's just going to be a one at a time thing that some people, that works great. And I feel like if I had started way earlier, like in my early 20s, like if I could look back, right when I had gotten an editor position and started getting paid more, if I would have started buying houses then, I would have probably stuck with houses. That would have been fine. But now that I had a couple of houses, I was realizing, oh, there's also this thing called apartment syndication, which is basically buying multifamily, buying apartment buildings with groups of people, right? And I can go in and be a part of a big group that buys apartment buildings. Well, now apartment buildings, I started learning, make a lot more sense long-term to building wealth, right?
Absolutely.
To creating streams of income. You can force appreciation, make an apartment building worth more by putting money into it, raising the rents, building up that, it's called net operating income, building in the income versus the expenses on a property. Well, now your property is worth a lot more. Plus you raise the rents on not one unit, because I have 2 houses now at this point, right? If I raise the rent on 2 houses $50, I make an extra $100 a month.
Yeah, it's like,
but
whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, it's great.
Right.
I'm not mad at that. But if I have 100 apartments and I raise the rent $25 on 100 apartments, like the economies of scale are just hugely different.
Right.
So I started getting into apartment syndication and learning that. So at this point, I am editing all day. But in the morning on my way to work, I'm either listening to a podcast or reading an audiobook. But what I spent a lot of my time doing was holding meetings. I got a hold of anyone who was on a podcast. I called them on the phone. Hey, do you have any time tomorrow morning? I'd love to take you to coffee. Okay. So on my way to work, I would go have a meeting with someone. I would try to stay super humble and say, hey, I'm learning multifamily. I'm learning investment real estate. Can you teach me something? So I would have meeting after meeting. I would have lunch meetings. I would have after work meetings. I would be calling people on my lunch breaks if I wasn't in a meeting with someone. I basically gave up any kind of quote unquote free time that I had in television and created a learning, an education platform for myself to master multifamily real estate. So
that's cool.
I guess, long story short, I started investing into apartment syndications. Along the way, people in my industry and entertainment industry found out what I was doing. Oh, you're buying all this multifamily real estate. You're investing in real estate out of state. Can you teach me what you're doing? I go, well, I don't know if I can teach you because it's something I spent 1,000 hours here doing, but let me see how I can help you. And so what I started doing is I started creating a platform where I could help other people invest in multifamily real estate alongside of me. So now what I do is I have built up where I go out and buy apartments. I bring investors together and they can get passive income. I'm doing the work to buy the property. Mm-hmm. They can invest their money into and be a have a co-ownership share in these properties. And I'm really been able to turn that. I'm able to help all my friends in the entertainment industry and outside of that to get passive income. So now I'm not the only person with streams of income. Now all my friends can enjoy streams of income through real estate.
And essentially you're doing that without having to use any of your own money, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I put my own money into every deal as well, but
right. Well, and that's because you like the deal and you support the deal. And,
absolutely.
And you want to benefit from the passive income.
But I do not have to fund the whole purchase of a property. Yeah.
Correct.
I can rely on other people's money and
so it allows you to buy something bigger that has better economies of scale and a higher yield that you couldn't have bought on your own with your own money.
Yeah. And once I had that realization that if you look around everywhere, there's big commercial buildings, whether they're office or retail or multifamily, and none of those are bought by a single person.
Right. I remember when I had that same realization. I thought that just there was some rich guy out there buying up all these buildings.
Yeah. Right. It's not owned by a single person is not buying those. So once I realized that, I go, well, yeah, now it's less overwhelming to think that I could own that. Well, I'm never going to be the owner of a giant property. I mean, hopefully down the line I will be, sure. But in the meantime, I'm not planning to be the owner. I'm going to be a co-owner. I will be a group that owns it. And well, shoot, once I had learned enough, well, now I can be the person kind of orchestrating that whole deal and being the quarterback that buys the deal and does all the work, but I don't have to have all the capital behind it to buy it.
Right.
So that's my kind of long story from skateboarder to television to real estate empire. And
that's cool.
Building it.
Let me ask you this, Chris. So you said, you're still in the editing business and you said the people around you are starting to figure out what you're doing. Was it most people asking you, how do I get involved or how do you do it? Or were there some haters in there that kind of said, oh, you're doing stupid stuff, oh, you're a fix and flipper. Did you have some hate in there that, was just from small-minded people, or was it, a lot of people interested actually in what you were doing?
Um, if I think back, I don't recall having a lot of haters. I think that a lot of people in my industry feel the same way, which is, oh, I'm trapped in this job. I have no long-term. People hear about investing, quote unquote, but they don't put in the extra time to decide for themselves if that's what they want to do. They don't put in
Right.
the extra effort to go realize what is investing, what does it look like to buy a property. Main hating that I would get is people that didn't like the fact that, well, that's like out of state. You have property manager, now you got someone else dealing with your property, you got someone
Right.
else in your house that you don't know it. That's fine
Yeah.
with me. I would just kind of explain, but for the
Yeah.
most part,
They
people
just
were
don't
more
understand.
interested. Yeah, people were more interested that I had income coming in while
Mhm.
I was on vacation, and they didn't.
Right.
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 um, and I'm pretty open book. I'm happy to help people when they're asking. So, and I also, for me, I'm like, look, I'm doing this anyway, right? I'm going to go out and buy properties anyway. So if you guys don't want to invest with me, no problem. I'm going to do it anyway. And I think that's attractive to people. They realize that I'm not trying to get anything out of them. I'm trying to help them because I'm doing it. I'm going to go out and make my own money, and I'm going to invest my own money. If you guys want to come along, happy to help you out. If not, no problem.
That's cool. I like that concept where you just get these guys to buy into what you're doing. Some of these high net worth guys in the entertainment world, and it sounds like they liked the concept, and it was kind of like they didn't want to know everything, all the details about how to learn and what you did to learn about it. They didn't want to do all that necessarily. It was more they trust you, they know you, they like you, so and they see that you're having success. So they're willing to stroke a check and basically put it into one of the deals that you're doing.
Yeah, and I spend a lot of time educating people as well. I have a whole website, I have a whole blog that I send out. I spend countless lunches
Nice.
now, kind of on the reverse of what I used to do. I used to try to take people to lunch and pick their brain and learn what they're doing, and now it kind of flips. Right now, I spend a lot
Yeah.
of my time educating other people and telling them either the basics of how to get from 0 to 1, or some of the more advanced stuff to get from 5 to 10, or really a lot of it's just explaining what I do and how they can be involved. Because Brendan, like you said, like not everybody wants to be active and learn all this extra stuff and put in thousands of hours and spend their mornings, noons, and nights doing this, and weekends and going to conferences. It's a lot. It's not a if you dive into something, it's not going to be passive at all.
Right.
I have plenty of friends who don't want to do any of that. They would be happy with an extra $1,000 a month would be great for them, just to kind of pad their life. Um, and my vision is a little bit more grand, right? I want to have huge amounts of wealth and take care of my entire family, and take everyone I know on trips with us, because money's coming in from all these apartments. So I have a little bit bigger. I don't do things very small. I don't like to.
Yeah. You live in LA, so
Yeah.
that mindset's been in you since a
There
young
you go.
age.
Yeah,
So.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about some of the successes, or kind of what you're involved in right now in the multifamily world.
Yeah. So my company, Amity Cash Flow, is really my effort to help other people get involved. Right. Early on, I decided that once people started asking me what I was doing, I was like, well, I can use other people's money and buy more properties. And then I took a step back and realized, wait a minute, I can help other people. So I shifted my whole mindset from just me making money to how do I help other people make money, right? And that has informed all kind of my decisions moving forward. So I've been investing in apartments in San Antonio, Texas, and Lexington, Kentucky. And recently I've been flying out to markets. I've been flying out to Tucson, Vegas, Phoenix, out in Texas again, looking at property in Florida right now. And so I've invested passively in some deals to kind of learn the ropes. I feel like it's only fair if I'm going to be offering these kind of deals to other people that I'm putting my money and learning it with my money on the line, not just book knowledge and not just podcast knowledge and not just talking to my buddies, but actually my money's on the line and I'm paying attention to the P&Ls coming in. I'm paying
Right.
attention to the business plans that we have. And then what I started doing is, once I had enough investors that were interested in what I was doing, we went in and we bought a property in San Antonio. That was it's been a little while since I bought last property. Properties are tough right now, but
Yeah.
that was late 2018. And now I'm really in just full acquisitions mode, right? I'm
Cool.
constantly at meetup groups. I'm constantly at events and conferences. I'm speaking at a couple meetup groups here and there. And what I'm really trying to do now is kind of build out my brand, build out my investor list, build out the opportunities that I have to help other people get involved in deals. And then I'm taking that and parlaying it into more properties. So I'm on the phone with brokers, I'm looking at properties, I'm running numbers, putting together like teams and partnerships, spending a lot of time kind of connecting with people doing things even higher level than I am, because I'm constantly trying to up my game. So that's where I'm at now. I'm invested in a little over 900 doors across a few different states, and full steam ahead, right? Pedal
That's
down.
awesome. Yeah, get to that 1,000 mark. That'd be
Yeah.
great. That'd be great. So,
Exactly.
all right, Chris. So we're gonna transition over to our moments of truth section. Okay, these are the same seven.
Of truth.
Yes, exactly. There's supposed to be some little intro, some little audio intro in there at some point. But so it's the same 7 questions that we ask all our guests here. So we're just gonna jump right in. Who is your success role model?
Man, success role model. So I think I have 2 answers to that. One would be Grant Cardone. I think I admire his huge thinking. But then I think on a little bit more kind of someone that I know role, my buddy Reed Goosens and Andrew Campbell, their company is called Wildhorn Capital out of Texas. And they have done such huge, big things in short amounts of time by really systemizing things. And I've learned a lot from them personally, just in conversations and coffees and lunches and working with them on deals. So seeing what they do in the apartment space has been a huge influence on me.
Awesome. And Reed's he's got a pretty interesting story too, if I recall, right?
Yeah, you had him on the pod. You should have him on the podcast.
Yeah, introduce us.
Yeah,
I'll connect you guys.
I met him at an event a couple months ago, but yeah, that'd be.
All right.
I know he's got a pretty awesome story. So
yeah we'll get him on here.
What's your biggest success?
My biggest success is my family. I know I didn't talk a lot about it, but I put a lot of time and effort into my family, and my wife and I have a super strong relationship. So all the money and all the successes in business, to me, is honestly just a tool to facilitate a stronger family relationship that's less stressed. So every night, my priority is still to get home and spend as much time with my wife as is needed. If it's a couple hours, if it's 1 hour, if it's 3 hours, my intention is to come home and spend time with her and connect on our day. I spend the morning with my son. He's usually asleep by the time I get home, but I'm very proud of my family. I'm proud that our relationship is super strong. And I don't know, like I said, I know I didn't talk a lot about that in this podcast, but that's definitely something I'm most proud of.
Yeah, that's cool. That's important. So I know you ran us through some of your typical days, but what's a typical day for you now look like?
Typical days: wake up at 7, spend about an hour and a half with my son, eat breakfast, play with him, read books. Then I head off to my day job, which is in television still. On the way, I will have a phone meeting of some sort that I've usually set up the day before or the week before, whether it's with an investor or a potential partner, or whether it's going over a deal or with a broker. I get to work and I spend really focused time at work from usually about 10 to noon or 10 to 1. Then I have a lunch meeting or a lunch phone call, or I'm looking at a deal. Sometimes I'm off having lunch with coworkers, but I try my best to avoid lunches that don't have any intention behind them. And then I'll go back to work and work on television. I try and be really focused on that until I leave work at around 7. From 7 to 8, I'm driving home. I'm having another phone call of some sort, or I'm doing a Facebook Live or catching up on social media. I have a car that self-drives down the freeway, so I can focus and do work like that.
There you go.
That has been a huge step, is getting a car that drives itself, so I don't have to be driving. I can be paying attention and working. Get home, focus time with my wife, whether it's 1 hour or 2 hours. And then when she goes to bed, I get back to work, back in the office here, and running numbers for the next day, setting up more deals or social media.
Wow. Busy day.
Yeah.
It's focused is what I like to say. I don't have free time, quote unquote. It's everything, every moment counts.
Yeah. Time block. Yep. That's cool. What's your favorite quote?
Why tiptoe through life only to arrive safely in death? That's Ludacris, the rapper.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like go big and don't work and put money in a 401k and then look back one day and be like, what if?
There's so much stuff out there in life that you can go and achieve and attack and experience. And I just figure, you know what, it might as well be somebody, might as well be me. And I'm going to put in the work and go make it happen. So
That's cool.
yeah.
So what are some of your hobbies? I know you skateboard a little bit, but what else do you do?
Skateboarding. I play drums. I'm also a drummer in a band, and it's a tribute band, and we tour around America once a month. I'm out on the road playing.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's really cool.
That's my only other hobby. My family is kind of if it's not work, it's family, and not a lot of free time in my life. So my hobbies have turned into hanging out with my son on the weekends. And then, like I said, I mean, I play drums, but I don't do art anymore. I don't do any like videos for fun really anymore.
Family. That's most important anyway. So cool. What's the best business book that you've read?
I would say Rich Dad, Poor Dad was kind of a mind altering.
You and everyone else.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, which is a book on negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
That book has made me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I read that book 4 times. I use it every few months when I'm negotiating new contracts in television. I use it I use it in my interactions with people. It's informed how I communicate with people. And then I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Rami Sethi. That was kind of what helped me when I just graduated college, learn about finance and kind of get my financial house in order. Those are, nice. I read a lot of books. So
Never Split the Difference is awesome. Just
incredible.
Behind how it's all about how am I supposed to do this, and how, it's the psychology behind negotiation. It's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, Chris, last question here. If there's one key piece of advice you could leave our listeners with about achieving success, what do you think it would be?
Let me think about that. I mean, in my life, it's just been be willing to do the work that others aren't, right? Put in extra time, stay humble, and be willing to learn, and always just keep putting in hard work, because I think a lot of people want easy stuff and they want stuff to happen to them. And I'm not that way. I'm more of a go make things happen. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in my story, I worked a lot of hours for free, but that gave me a 6-figure job at 23. You know what I mean? And not a lot of people get that. They want to just do the steps as they come to them. And that's never been me.
Right.
And also be confident in yourself, go out and get it, and I think that's a huge attitude that's helped me, is to be confident in myself, believe that I can go out and do it, and not be afraid to have a conversation. Even if I'm still learning, go have the conversation.
Awesome. Right. Yeah. And I think that reflects in your story. So
yeah, I hope so. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely.
So what are some of the wants and needs for your business right now?
I need another property. I'm looking for, multifamily properties that are 80 units and up.
Okay.
In secondary and tertiary markets across, mostly not California. I'm looking for passive investors. If you're an investor out there that have some money set aside that you're looking to maybe invest, you can talk to Brandon and Will. I know they have a great company set up that can help you guys out with that. If you're looking for someone else, maybe a secondary person to talk to, hit me up. I'm happy to talk to you about it. That's kind of my needs and wants. That's an interesting question. I'm always looking for more property and investors that want to work together, and I think would be a good fit to go buy more properties. That's kind of my sole focus right now, is creating this real estate empire.
Great. And so how can they get in contact with you if they're looking to reach you?
Sure. You can shoot me an email. Be a great way. My email is Chris, CHRIS, at Amity Cashflow, AM as in Mary, ITY Cashflow. You can go to my website. That's amitycashflow.com. I have a lot of information on there. You can sign up for my email list there. You can reach out. And I really encourage you, if you're listening to this and you just want to chat, I spend many hours each week just talking to people that were kind of in my shoes years ago. Happy to talk to someone who's, whether it's real estate or television or really anything. If you're just looking for some advice on, whatever, I'm happy to give you whatever I can. I don't know that I'll be able to give the best advice, but I'm happy to spend the time. And, if it'll help you out, I've had so many people help me in my life, and I'm happy to give back any way I can. So please reach out. Yeah. Chris at amitycashflow.com.
Awesome, Chris. Well, Chris, we appreciate your time. You've got a pretty awesome story from skateboarding to video editing to multifamily real estate. So we appreciate you being on the show here with us. And listeners, don't forget to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/wealth junkies, and to subscribe to the show so you don't miss any of the daily shows. Chris, thanks again, and we'll see everybody tomorrow.
Thanks, you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep.
You've been listening to the Daily Wealth Junkie Show, brought to you by CEO Capital Partners. CEO Capital Partners works with business owners and executives to build passive income through multifamily apartment syndications. For more information about how you can invest in quality multifamily real estate assets and build significant streams of passive income, visit us today at ceocapitalpartners.com.